Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
All right. They pulled this one out somehow, some way. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, our live Texans-Giants postgame show, part of the national Bleav network. And joining me as contributor, Tom Chavarria, co-host of the Bullpen podcast. And Tom, boy, they just don't make this easy. They just don't make it easy at all. This is the typical old Jacksonville Texans classic.
Yeah, division games are tough, man. This is a team in Jacksonville that absolutely had to win if they were going to do anything. So they played really hungry. They played really desperate. And the Texans have a lot to work on. They're a long way from a finished product. But it's better to be making these mistakes and winning than making these mistakes and losing.
Yeah, what's the old saying? Just win and move on. Just get it done and, take the victory and move on. Just crazy game. So much to talk about. Lots of stuff to clean up. We're going to be talking about that for sure. And for everybody watching live, send us your questions, comments. We want to hear from you. And hey, who's your Texans MVP for this one? I think it's kind of easy, but let us know. We'll post your reactions as we move along. If you're new to Houston Sports Talk, we go live every Texans game. So make us a part of your Texans routine after the game. Let's get to the action, possession by possession. We like to do it that way to make it fun. And the Texans D forced a punt, but then the Steven Sims disastrous muff punt. Oh, what a day for Sims. And the Lawrence to Brian Thomas TD pass. My immediate reaction, Tom, was that's the only way you're going to get the Jags offense going because they were terrible this year going into this one.
Absolutely. Obviously, Steven Sims can ill afford to muff punts because literally that is his only role with this club. If he's not able to be back there and be reliable as a kick returner, well, then I don't know what the Texans need him on the roster for. And as far as the Jags go with Brian Thomas Jr., I have been looking for this in fantasy, in regular season, and anywhere, because I thought this was a match made in heaven. I thought Brian Thomas Jr. easily becomes a guy that Trevor Lawrence could lean on. And so far to this point, he hadn't. And right away, they make the move to get him going early.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The Texans, it seems like they at times don't realize, like, hey, there's one guy on the other team's roster we got to cover, and they don't. So Eric Murray in coverage wasn't even close, Tom, just like last week early in the game.
For me, I don't think it's necessarily the Texans. I think it's Jacksonville that has made the error to not get the ball to Brian Thomas more. I heard something from the broadcast throughout the game where they were like, oh, Christian Kirk is the guy. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the best wide receiver on that club. And the fact that he's only seeing so many targets and they're trying to spread the ball out more, I think they really need to feature him. And I'm glad that the Texans were able to overcome that. But today you kind of saw it.
Yeah, B-Val says, what are the odds that Sims played his last game for the Texans today? It seems high. I'm going to talk a little bit about him later because there was more from Steven Sims and it wasn't good. Texans offense responds the next drive, or more accurately, Nico Collins responds. 3 Nico first downs. Then Stephon Diggs, the rushing touchdown on what I'm guessing was a pass play setup. Great decision, Tom, to run the ball by Diggs, but also great blocks by Titus and Stover.
Absolutely. I think they were saying in the broadcast, and you could kind of see it on the replay, that was going to be a throwback pass to CJ Stroud. But when CJ Stroud, who is a good athlete, I guess the Jaguars seen that coming, got 2 guys to follow him. Heady play by Stephon Diggs to just tuck the ball and go. The opportunity was there for a first down, and then great blocks, like you pointed out, got him in the end zone.
Yeah, keep the comments coming, not just B-Vals. We want to hear from you. The Jags right back down for a field goal. Chunk play was a Bigsby 22-yard run. Big game for Bigsby. Stingley took a bad angle, gave up the edge. Next Texan drive, stalls just past midfield. Texan D follows with a 3-and-out. Danielle Hunter, third down pressure, forces the incompletion. Texans ball again. Big first down catches. Cade Stover, Robert Woods, Ogunbowale. Oh, he had a nice game. And Diggs Tunsil goes out with an injury, but Nico is the hero that you need, Tom. He draws a holding in the end zone and catches a 4-yard touchdown. He's a little special.
Absolutely. Going into the season, I know that it's been talked about a lot, who's the go-to guy on this team. And through 4 games, I don't believe there's any question at all. It is Nico Collins. He is the unquestioned number 1 on this club, and he's winning. He's just winning against anybody that they put on him. If they give the zone look, he's finding the spots in it. If they go one-on-one, he's beating them deep. Nico Collins is proving that he's worth every penny that he got in the offseason, and he's starting to look like a bargain. Like when you look at his numbers compared to some of the other guys, he's not the highest paid wide receiver, but he is definitely doing things on the offensive side of the ball that is warranting highest paid wide receiver type money.
Best maybe non-rookie contract in the NFL right now, Nico Collins. So think about that one. Offensive line, Texans Spurs says, still playing like Kaka. I just wanted to say Kaka. We're going to talk about the line down the road, but I love the Kaka reference. Jags next possession, couple big completions, but put them in field goal range. Will Anderson, pressure on 3rd and 1, forces a bad Trevor Lawrence throw and a field goal. Anything stick out for you at this point, Tom?
No, not really. I'm glad to see that they're getting more pressure on Trevor Lawrence, because I felt like early in the game he was able to just sit back and kind of go where he wanted to go with the football. I really feel like we haven't talked about it enough because the stack numbers are kind of there. But at least for myself, I thought this pass rush would be that much more menacing. And I don't know if they're just being schemed really well or what, but we're just not seeing enough of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter getting home. But, with these pressures, we love to see it. I think as the game went on, you got more there. And I hope this is only the beginning of something special, going forward.
They need more negative plays. They had just 3 tackles for a loss and 1 sack in this game. That's got to change. So we're going to keep an eye out on the defense the rest of the game. Before we roll on, just a quick reminder to share your thoughts on YouTube and click the like button to support the show. If you haven't done so, subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. So you can listen to this later on the run. You can listen to our other shows on the run, Spotify, Apple, all the usuals. Let's get back to the action. Texans football. Kenyon Green picks up his 2nd and 3rd penalty of the half. Oh, and his pass blocking stunk too. Tom, the Texans, I said it earlier this week, they need 2 new guards next year because Mason, with 2 penalties, he's been underwhelming too. Caca is the right word. They are caca.
I agree, but I will say this. I feel like those 2 penalties you referenced in response to Kenyon Green are a little bit on the play calling too. I really think that when you've got these run pass options, I don't know what the communication is. I don't know how you just differentiate between, okay, we know we're going to pass, we know we're going to run, but a couple of those plays where it was like man downfield, it looks like a run play. And if CJ is going to hold on to the ball, I get where you could get caught up in some of those instances. Bottom line, it's got to be better all the way around. I think you spoke to it in some of your tweets as far as coaching. I think that falls on the coach in a sense that if we're going to practice this up, you have to know to hold your water a little bit. And some of them just look lost.
I would say it's on the coaching staff of 5 guys were downfield illegally because they all didn't know what to do. But it was 1 guy, and he did it twice in this game, and he had 3 penalties overall, not just those 2. So that's my issue with Kenyon Green. And there's the other issues. He's terrible at pass blocking, gave up 1 sack, and I just watched him in pass. It's not good. I had a guy, Tom, on the halftime spaces, Texan spaces that I visited, and I said that Kenyon Green might need to be benched. And the guy disagreed with me. He said, no, he's been the best offensive lineman on the Texans this year. The best offensive lineman on the Texans this year? Really?
Well, the offensive line has been really, really bad. So I don't know if that's a compliment. I mean, he's better than Laramie Tunsil right now.
Yeah, Jake says such a horrible team. They're 3-1. They're not horrible. Horrible is not 3-1. All right, Texans overcome a bunch of penalties on the drive, but still managed to get a field goal. My big complaint, though, is clock management, Tom. I hate D'Amico and Slowick's first half clock management. They always play for a field goal instead of a touchdown. Use your timeouts earlier. They get scared to take them. Hey, CJ Stroud plays for us, not them. Let's use the timeouts and let's pretend like we're going to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I really think this is more about the defense and not giving up points. I think they knew that they were going to get the ball in the second half, so they were really trying not to make too many mistakes there.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. They got in field goal range. There's 40-something seconds left on the clock, and they decide not to call a timeout right there. They waste about 10 or 15 seconds. They're in field goal range, but they're not close to a touchdown. So at that point, you're going to get some points on the board, or at least a shot at points on the board. Like, that's my issue is like, no, at this point, you were in field goal range and you could have called a timeout there because you know what's going to happen? You're throwing the football every single time. So it's either incomplete or you're moving a ball in the big chunk, or you can control, taking, a timeout with an incomplete pass or just throwing it away or throwing it into the ground. You have that option, but leave yourself time to score the touchdown. That's my point.
No, I understand, and I agree with you. However, in watching them play, they were totally happy with the field goal. Like, they played for a field goal.
Yeah, and I get it.
If you want them to, I understand that, but that's in where we're sitting. All I'm going to do is basically go, this is what they were after. I get why you want to shoot.
I want you on here, Tom. I want what you want to do. I saw what they wanted to do, and I disagreed with it. What you have to tell me what you want to do. We know what they want to do.
I didn't mind it because I felt like they were going to come out and score a touchdown. I didn't mind it. For me, it was like, yeah, we could force the ball downfield. They're playing coverage, so we're probably playing into their hand a little bit. I think they were okay. I think what you're talking about when you talk about, hey, we got the best quarterback. We need to go get a touchdown. There were teams in the past like Tom Brady's, Patriots that would do that, and I just don't think the offense is there right now. I think the offensive line, which we've talked about at length, ad nauseum, is not good. And you risk, trying to force the ball when they can't pass block, that we've talked about ad nauseum in obvious passing plays. I think D'Amico was trying to slow play because of that. And I wish the offensive line was better. I can't fix that. I don't think D'Amico can fix that right now. It's going to be a slow process. So that's why I think he settled for the field goal, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I just don't think this has anything to do with the offensive line. CJ Stroud will protect the ball. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, there could be a sack, I guess is what you're saying, but you have to think aggressively. I mean, I think teams that, play passively, play not to lose. And that's my experience of watching football for 50 years. But all right, let's get to the third quarter. Tunsil back in the game. He had gone out with that injury. Texans, a quick 3-and-out. Jags football. And hey, Tom, you can actually say something positive right here about Eric Murray. Huge sack on third down.
Yeah, it was a great play call. He timed it up really well. I think the safeties made some plays throughout this game that kind of, made amends for other errors, and that was one of the first ones.
Another 3-and-out from the Texans offense. At that point, Slowick kept trying to run on first down. I don't know why. It was second long. It seemed like every single time. I didn't like that, Tom, and I didn't like Akers running east-west. This is not college football. The old Jerry Glanville would tell you, I don't want a bula back. In other words, the guy that's like fake left, right. No, you go straight up the middle. And with no holes on the offensive line, why not try British Brooks, who can run over guys a little bit at least?
I think he was trying to make a bigger play. That's something that Cam Akers can do. He's very shifty. I get the north and south, just get up there, get 3 yards, that sort of thing. I think he was trying to hit home runs. It's kind of his MO. What I'm more disappointed is that they didn't throw to the backs. I mean, obviously they did at points, but not enough for me. Cam Akers is such a willing catcher of the football. Very good hands. I would have liked to seen more from him in the pass game, and I didn't. I think that the offensive line, which again, we could go to, it seems like every time if we wanted to, they just weren't doing a good job opening up holes between holds and things of that nature. It was just really bad for anybody to be back there. Taylor didn't shine either when he got his turn.
I would say throw the ball to Cam Akers if you didn't have CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. I mean, they were 27. Stroud was 27 for 40 for 345 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was moving the ball when his offensive line wasn't shooting himself in the foot. and the running game wasn't backing him up. So I didn't have a huge problem with the fact that they should have incorporated those guys in when you've got all the weapons that the Texans do down the field. Didn't even talk about, guys like Dalton Schultz that are out there and whatnot. But, it didn't seem like they missed Tank Dell a ton. We definitely want him back, but I don't feel like did you feel like they missed him today?
No, not at all. I think that they found enough in the scheme, using Diggs a little bit more. What I was speaking to about throwing the ball to Akers is like a run play. Get him in screens, get him in like a bubble screen for a wide receiver, but make Akers the featured guy. Throw things of that nature. Those are kind of plays that I think that we don't see enough from the Texans. And when we do, it's ran with a guy like Taylor. And I don't necessarily love that because I feel like he doesn't get enough time on the field.
Yeah, Texans Spurs said Slowick needs to be better. Yeah, go ahead and fire him. I mean, we all wanted to give him like a 10-year contract last year. Get rid of him. All of a sudden, he doesn't know what he's doing because Laramie Tunsil can't, get through a series without a penalty. The offensive line can't get through a series without a penalty. The offense can't get through a series without a penalty. That's all Bobby Slowick's telling them. Can you guys hold until the guys can call it because I really want to make this offense come to a complete stop. This is madness, guys. Stop it with the Bobby Slowick needs to go. Whatever.
The Bobby Slowick thing, look, you have to understand that when it is second and long, third and long, the playbook gets condensed. There's only so much you can do. Now, to Spurs Texans Spurs point, you did speak to Bobby Slowick running the ball a ton on first down. I think he's got to be different on first down. I don't think you can run the ball on first down every time and get kind of vanilla that way. So I do think he needs to be better. I don't think he needs to be fired. So I understand the criticism there. If we're going to go after the offensive line, we have to be willing to go after Bobby Slowick too.
Yeah, and I said the thing about, that I would like to see that changed. I don't think it's a disaster. I think if Joe Mixon is out there, this isn't such a minus play running the ball on first down. And we saw that when Joe he just looks like light years better than these other guys, frankly. And that's why he's your best running back. But let's get to the Jags, who put together a drive, the big play, 32-yard catch, the Nico challenge. What did you think of that, Tom? What did you think of the challenge? What did you think of the ruling?
I thought the challenge was worthy. I mean, once I saw it, obviously when you see it full speed, you see, oh yeah, that could be something. And then when they break it down, I felt like it wasn't necessarily going to be overturned, but I don't mind those. I don't mind the coach taking a shot there. I understand, what was at stake. It was a huge play. It just didn't work out in our favor.
The Jags finish it off with a Christian Kirk touchdown. Jalen Petrie in coverage. That's never good. Texans next drive stalls. Next Jags drive. Let's get to that one because a huge Bigsby 50-plus yard run. Boy, this game looked in jeopardy right there. And I thought Lassiter sold out too early. Toa didn't read it right. But Tom Fatukasi saves the day on 4th and goal. What a stuff on the QB draw.
I got to go back 2 or 3 plays sooner because on that run, if Kalen Bullock does not run him down and make that play to knock him out of bounds, it's a touchdown. And that was the for me more pivotal than anything Foley did. Obviously, he made a great play, but Kalen Bullock's willingness to go chase down Tank Bigsby when he could have just let it go, and that would have been the touchdown that might have changed this game. Totally, we might still be watching football right now if it wasn't for that play. Huge for me. Obviously, like you said, Foley made a huge stop. I thought it was really risky for the Jags to kind of, roll the dice there. I thought they should have kicked the field goal because, this is a team, make the other team score touchdowns, and they didn't do that. And there you go.
Yeah, the one thing I will point out is I thought Kalen Bullock, you're right about that particular play. Give him credit. I thought he was just a little late a couple of other plays. He got lucky a couple of times because Trevor Lawrence missed his guy. There was another play where he just got there late on over the top safety help. But he's a rookie. And, as I pointed out midweek, his first 3 games are extraordinary considering he's a rookie safety and a guy that was a 3rd-round pick. So so far I really like what Kalen Bullock has brought to the table overall. Next Texans drive, Mason, Stover, and Tunsil all had penalties. But don't worry, Tom. Nico has addressed the penalties. He's addressed them. Coming into this game, by the way, Texans second in the NFL in penalties. I guess second wasn't good enough, Tom.
I don't know what you or anyone else wants D'Amico Ryan to do more for this. I get it. Like, you have to place blame somewhere. For me, it's on the players. For me, D'Amico Ryan's not out there suited up. So yes, he can say that he addressed them, but that's as much as he can do. He's still got to trust that these guys that are out on the field, unless he wants to start benching, 10 guys, because there was a lot of penalties to go around. Offense, defense, you name it. I don't know what more he can do than say that. I gotta believe, like technically, I gotta believe they got to get better, and that's probably going to be something that he can deal with. But as far as like speaking to what else I can say to you and me and the media, I don't know what else he can say.
Blake Fisher wasn't a disaster when he was out there for Tunsil, but I get if you want to stick with Tunsil longer, but at some point, I mean, this is getting ridiculous with Laremy Tunsil. And I would say, yeah, you can address it. Kenyon Green should be benched every few series. And if Kenyon Green looks better than Kenyon Green and doesn't, commit the penalties, then, why not? Why not try somebody else out there? Because I don't think Kenyon's good in pass protection. And you tell me, oh, he's doing a great job with the run game, but what run game? What run game are we not going to miss? What run game are we going to miss, Tom?
I mean, at some point, I don't know. There's not somebody walking in the door that's just going to magically make this team better on the offensive line. Like, you're asking for Fisher to play over Laremy Tunsil.
No, I'm saying I'm not saying for sure Fisher, but I would definitely at least play Kendrick Green a few series and see what he can do, because last year we saw him play. He wasn't bad. I don't remember the penalties like I'm seeing with Kenyon Green either.
I hear that. I understand. But you can look on the other side and say Shaq Mason's got penalties too. I don't know that Kendrick Green fixes that. I'm sorry. I want more from Kenyon Green, because I believe that over the long period of time, the kid's 23 years old and he was injured a couple of years. So we're really talking about limited snaps in the NFL. I do believe he has to get better for this team to go where they want to go. I just don't know that a journeyman's going to come in and instantly, fix that for us.
All right. You said, what can they do about the penalties? And I want to hit that in this next group of things I'm going to talk about. Jags' next drive stalls. Stingley, good third down pass breakup, but penalties and boos just start raining down on the Texans at this point with a Steven Sims personal foul on a punt return. The next one. And let me just tell you, Tom, this is how you start getting rid of the penalties. Steven Sims, you're gone. We don't need you. You're released. That was the dumbest penalty I've ever seen. That's basically saying we have no discipline as a team in a huge point in the game, massive point in the game.
I also thought it was an incredibly soft penalty. For that to be unnecessary roughness where the guy doesn't leave his feet, he runs into
No. Steven Sims is out of bounds. He wasn't even in the game.
He was
right in front of the officials. He throws an elbow right there, right in front of the officials on the sideline, 3 yards out of bounds.
Steven Sims was in the game. He was the guy that went to go return the punt. They just made the comment that he had returned back in after being in the doghouse. Sims tracked the ball to his sideline. The opposing player on the Texans runs into him on the Texans sideline. He throws a little chicken wing. The guy doesn't leave his feet. They throw a 15-yard flag. Do I think he needs to do that? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Does he need to be gone? Sure. But is that a soft penalty? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He was in the game. But what I'm saying is, like, he's not in the field of play. And when you're not in the field of play and then you do something like that in front of an official, I mean, basically you're out of the play. Basically it's over with. And you could say, oh, that's cheap. But I mean, that's right in front of the official and it was unnecessary. And he's 3 yards out of bounds.
If you told me he was on the opposing team sideline, I'd hear that. On his sideline, where's he supposed to go? He's on his sideline. Yeah, the guy ran into him.
He throws his arm out at him. The guy wasn't going to run into him. He threw his arm out. Like, look, here's what you do, Sims. Just block him in. Block him like at least, pretend like you're blocking him, but don't just throw an elbow out at a guy that's running past you. I mean, it just looks obvious.
Christopher's got it right. He baited him. He baited him, and he got what he wanted. Does Chris Sims need to go? For me, absolutely. Do I think they needed to call that penalty? No.
All right, Chris, by the way, you asked about how many penalty yards. We're going to get to that just shortly. But Jags' next drive, Stingley. Let's move on to the next thing. Got behind myself there. Another Tunsil penalty helps kill the next drive. By the way, great analysis from the TV guys. Laramie wearing red gloves could be a bad idea when you're playing against white uniforms. Tom, are you asking the officials to look at your hands? This is why I don't own a red car, even though red is my favorite color. I agreed with the guys on that little point.
I mean, the whole team wore red gloves. I don't know. The Texans, maybe they got to go, okay, we got to get rid of the red. I don't think he went out and said, you know what, this red looks good, I'm going to wear it. Not
all the guys were wearing red. Not all the offensive line. I was looking for that. Not all of them were wearing the red gloves. There were guys on the Texans wearing white gloves. I was watching.
Okay. I saw some wearing red too, so I didn't necessarily care. I thought he was right though. You were making it very obvious. Laramie Tunsil was holding the entire game. And I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's just old. I don't know if he's just lazy. But to me, Laramie Tunsil looks like a dude that looks uninterested, that he got his money and now he's there because he has to be there. I don't know what to do with him because he's so highly paid. You just can't get rid of him. But at the same time, it's a week after week after week. And how many times can you go, well, Nico's got to fix this before it's like, what you need to fix Laramie.
12 penalties, Chris, for 93 yards is the exact count. That's the count, guys. And Texan Spurs agrees, fire Sims and Slowick. So he wants to get rid of Slowick. Yeah, we know it. You don't like Slowick. Texans, let's see, a couple of huge passes defense by Jalen Petrie and Eric Murray. I got to give those guys credit. Miracles still happen. It's almost Christmas. It was a Christmas miracle early, but let's get to the key drive. Nico Collins, it's his time, baby. 2 huge catches. Then Dalton Schultz, a biggie to the 1. After Stroud can't get in on the first down, CJ hits Ogunbowale. And speaking of Bobby Slowick, that's just well designed, I thought. Tom, give him credit for that. That was a great design on that.
The play to Nico coming across the crosser, I thought that was a great design. I think we've seen that 2 or 3 different times throughout the season and some into last season where he was just able to get him free and just running across the middle of the field. The Schultz play I thought was genius because they could have absolutely ran plays into the end zone, but they knew they wanted to bring this clock all the way down to nothing. They called a play to the sticks. Dalton Schultz makes the catch, gets the first down, and allows the Texans to basically leave no time on the clock for Jacksonville to do anything with.
Much better clock management, I thought, Tom, in that one. And I think they're better. Like I said, I don't think they're awful all the way through the game. I just don't like the first half clock management. That's what I really have the issue with is the first half clock management. How about the Texans pulling out the late cover, by the way, with the safety, Tom? Way to go. Way to go. We finally got a cover.
Did they get the safety? I was under the impression that they marked him short of that. So that's interesting. I had turned it off already.
Oh, you're right. They did take it away. We were getting ready for the show, and I didn't see that. Oh, that was a killer then. They didn't give him the safety. Oh, my God. This is why I don't bet. I'm so glad I don't bet money on this stuff. Man, this stuff absolutely would cause gray hair for sure.
ESPN has a thing that they do, like I think it's Sunday night, where it's like bad beats, and it's something along those lines where they talk about the cover, and they're probably going to show that play where it's like, hey, if we get the safety, we cover, but since they don't, obviously there's people in Vegas making money.
All right, this is where we usually get every week. We go to who's your MVP for the game? Who's the Texans MVP? And I'm going to give you the choices, Tom. You got Nico Collins with 12 catches, 151 yards, a touchdown. You got Nico Collins with 12 catches, 150 yards, a touchdown. You got Nico Collins, 12 catches, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Which one do you want, Tom?
I think I'll take option C.
Yeah, he's my MVP. I don't even think it's up for debate. Love what CJ Stroud did, took care of the football. Incredible day for him too. 27 receptions for on 40 attempts, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns. But it's a lot of Nico. Almost half of that's Nico Collins. So yeah, he's the guy.
Absolutely. I think when you look at it, I do believe that CJ's doing a really good job of spreading the ball around. I do think he's getting Diggs involved enough. I know a lot of people thought that if he wasn't the clear and question number one, that he would be a diva and be a thing on the sidelines, this and that. They're drawing up plays like we saw early in the game with that throwback pass to keep Stephon Diggs constantly involved, which I think is great. Nico is proving to be the unquestioned number one wide receiver. And if they could get these penalties worked out and the run game sorted out, they'd be a really good football team. I think for them to be 3-1, kind of like Noel, I think I got that right, was saying, and playing like a 1-3 team, you love that because that means that they've got so much to improve, and how you start is not how you finish. And if this team gets right, somewhere in the middle of the year and kind of cleans up some of this stuff, it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, the old saying, I guess, in the NFL is you don't get artistry points for wins. I mean, a win's a win's a win's a win. But yeah, the penalties are going to catch up. You can't just do double digits every week and expect this to keep rolling. And the teams that they're going to play are going to get much harder. This has been a relatively easy schedule. The Vikings, that's a good team. But overall, this schedule and the quarterback play that you're seeing on a week-to-week basis. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I just look at him. He just seems like an average quarterback at best. Tom, I don't know what you think, but I had on Jags Insider earlier this week that was saying, well, it's the offensive line. It's been bad the whole time he's been there. I mean, they didn't look bad. They didn't look all that bad today, I thought. I thought their offensive line did a really, really nice job on what should be a real good pass rush by the Texans. But I will say this much. Man, it would sure be nice to have Nico Autry back in a couple of weeks, because you put him with some of these other guys, then it gets harder to double team Will Anderson or double team Danielle Hunter. And I think at that point, then we could start really seeing a sack exchange type of deal. But I would say the quarterback play that they've seen so far, not that great. But you know what? I thought the defense has looked fairly good, considering you've got 2 rookies playing in the secondary and other guys that just aren't all that special. And you had no Jimmy Ward in this game. We got to remember that too. There was no Jimmy Ward in this game. Not that he's spectacular, but he knows where to be. The leadership is good too.
Yeah, can't discredit what this defense has been able to do, missing guys like Christian Harris, Nico Autry, Jimmy Ward, like you spoke to. I'm going to go back to the Jalen Petrie play that he made that really kind of helped, get the Texans the ball back late in the game. You spoke to Kamari Lassiter, and I think Kamari Lassiter is going to be a phenomenal corner. But there's been a couple of times where he got beat, and on that play he was beat, and Jalen Petrie bailed him out. So I really love what I'm seeing from these guys, given the fact that, they're not making all the plays, but they're making just enough plays. I know Jalen Petrie was picked on a lot today, and hopefully that's not something where he's going to be on the field all the time. I think we saw him more today because Jimmy Ward wasn't there. So again, 3-1, I can't be mad.
Yeah, Deb D agrees with us. We can't get away with this stuff, these penalties versus a good team. And I will say, we've got another playmaker that we're missing, but I don't think he's going to be back next week because I'm just not hearing anything. Have you heard anything about Christian Harris? Hey, I think I saw him running a wind sprint or something. At least we had the Kyle Tucker was running wind sprints over with the Astros. We're not even getting that right now with Christian Harris.
Well, look, Kyle Tucker was running wind sprints for months before he finally came back. So I'd rather him just show up the week of instead of being teased for, 60 days of Kyle Tucker could be back any day. So I'm okay with that. I want him to be healthy. I want him to be, once he gets back, he's good for a good long portion of the season, barring anything crazy. And I'll wait. I mean, right now they've, like I said, or like we've said, they've been able to piece it together just enough. And I feel like there are better days for this defense and for this offense ahead.
So just to be clear, going into next week, the only changes you're making is you're getting rid of Sims, but Kenyon Green and Larry Tunsil, you're running those 2 guys out there again. Same deal.
You know what? I'd love to see a rotation. I would like to see Kendrick Green. I would like to see Fisher. I just don't know if they're willing to do it. I really feel like they think those two guys give them the best chance, even though they're absolutely not looking like it right now. I think if there was a better option, I don't know if Bobby Sloak and especially D'Amico Ryans can afford to just constantly put this offense in a hole each and every drive and expect to beat better competition. So I think for now, I got to hope that those guys get right.
Do you suspect that the Mixon not being out there is a precautionary? We just want to give him one more week and play it safe.
I do. I think they felt like they had enough without Joe Mixon to really get this done. And I think they're really trying to be careful with him because they know how important he is. They know how special he is. And you can tell what the offense looks like with Joe Mixon in versus without him. So I think they really want to do the best they can to make sure that he doesn't come back only to re-injure it. And I think that's probably the best idea.
Is it my imagination, or does Ogunbowale deserve maybe a few more carries with guys like J.J. Taylor and Cam Akers? He looks fine to me. And the one thing that he does is he goes downhill. J.J. Taylor was kind of doing some of the Cam Akers stuff. It's like, hey, just go to the hole and just run straight. Don't do the zigging and the zagging and the zigging and the zagging.
I feel like they stay away from Dare because of how much they value him in the fourth quarter. I think when you look at the last couple games, he has been on the field a ton in the fourth quarter, and he's been a guy they've been able to A, throw the ball to, or B, run the ball with. And I think they do that to just really keep him fresh.
Anything else before we close things down? You got any last comments or anything to tell D'Amico about how he can cut down the penalties? Does he start like having a buzzer on guys that, as soon as you do a penalty out there, it's like automatically reacts and the guys goes into a shock or something like, what do you got to do to get these guys out of this bad habit?
Man, I don't know. I think this is historically bad. I've never seen a Texan team penalized the way this team has been penalized. I'm just really happy they're 3-1. I know a lot was made of last week's game, but I don't know if you followed what Minnesota was doing up in Green Bay. They raced out to 28-0 against Green Bay in Green Bay. And I think that, Green Bay put up a fight and came back, and, eventually Minnesota was able to salt it away. But that's an undefeated team that looks really, really good. Looks like the class of the NFC. And then I feel like the Texans, as poorly as they played, can play so much better. And it's good to be 3-1 and still say I have another gear. So I'm just really excited the fact that they're able to manage these games enough to get wins until they get right.
Yeah, we normally don't look too much at what's going on the scoreboard, but you look down at some of the games. By the way, just a heads up. Chiefs down 10-0 against the Chargers early. That's kind of a little interesting already. People listening on audio might not matter. Chiefs could come back and it might not make much of a difference. But into the other games that you saw that caught your interest, Colts, they're 2-2 now. They beat the Steelers. That's a little bit of an upset.
The interesting thing about that game is Anthony Richardson went out with a hip injury. So they are relying on Joe Flacco. And I almost fear Joe Flacco a little bit more than Anthony Richardson because he's an actual quarterback. And they have tons of weapons and they have a really good offense. And I Bleav that when they get good quarterback play, they're very tough to beat.
All right, well, let's close this thing out. Really want to thank everybody for tuning in. And Tom, you can check out him on the Bullpen podcast. The Bullpen podcast, that's where he's at on a regular basis. And on Tuesday, the guy as Houston Stressins on Twitter will join Steven and me on the show. And don't forget to look for our live Astros playoff post games with me and Steven coming up with the Astros postseason just a couple of days away. And by the way, just got this in the mail. The brand new Akeem Olajuwon biography. And it is really good, guys. And I'm going to have the author of this biography, Mirren Fader, is coming on the show with me in the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to talk to her about Akeem. Never get tired of talking about Akeem. He is Houston's GOAT as far as team sports go, without question. But again, thanks everybody for joining us. And we do this every week. So I hope you're out there telling everybody you know. You guys definitely want to see some more people out there on a weekly basis as the Texan season moves on. But thanks, everyone. We'll talk again soon.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, you can support the show by subscribing on YouTube and commenting on the videos. Listen to Houston Sports Talk on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and Google. Don't forget to tell a friend and share our show on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.